Ever get that feeling? Like some people just learn things so much faster,
Right.
almost like they've got this secret formula.
Right.
Well, today, we're diving deep, and I mean deep, into Scott Young's book, Get Better at Anything.
That's a good one.
It's all about cracking the code of learning. So if you're ready to unlock your inner learning superhero, buckle up.
Yeah, this isn't about finding some magical shortcut or anything. It's really more like a practical framework, like a solid set of tools you can use no matter what you're trying to learn.
Okay, I like it. So no magic wands here, just like a good old-fashioned toolbox.
Exactly. And Young breaks it all down into three main parts, three pillars: learning from others, deliberate practice, and feedback.
Hmm, 3 pillars. So that sounds pretty solid, like building a house or something, right?
Yeah, I like that analogy. You need the blueprint, the actual building process, and then those finishing touches to make it perfect.
Love it. So let's start with that blueprint. Learning from others. What's that all about?
Well, think of it like this. You want to bake a cake, right? You don't just start throwing ingredients together hoping for the best.
Unless you're me in the kitchen.
Well, maybe not. But the point is, there's a recipe, a method that's been tested and proven. And that's what learning from others is all about. It's about reverse engineering success, looking at people who've already achieved what you want and figuring out how they got there. What steps did they take? What mistakes did they make along the way?
Oh, so it's kind of like having a mentor, someone who's already walked the path.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't even have to be a formal mentorship. You can learn from books, articles, videos, even just observing people who are really good at what they do.
Makes sense. So you study the masters, you figure out their techniques.
Right.
Then what? You got to actually put it into practice.
Right. And this is where deliberate practice comes in.
And this isn't just like mindless repetition,
No,
right?
right.
Like
Right,
doing
right.
the same thing over and over again.
No, definitely not. It's about being really intentional with your practice. Focusing on those weak spots, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone.
It's like that saying, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Exactly. Think about a musician who's getting ready for a big performance. They don't just play the whole piece over and over. They isolate those tricky sections. They slow things down. They really pay attention to each note, each movement.
So they're not just going through the motions. They're really focused on those areas that need work.
Exactly. And that kind of focused attention is what makes the difference.
Okay, so you're learning from others. You're putting in the work with deliberate practice. What's that third pillar?
Feedback.
Backhandle.
That's the one. And it's super important, kind of like having a coach or a guide, someone to point out what you're doing well and, where you might need to adjust.
I guess it can be tough to see those blind spots yourself when you're so focused on learning.
Right. It's like trying to see the back of your own head. You need another perspective. And feedback, that's how you get that other perspective. It helps you stay on track, make adjustments, and ultimately get better faster.
Yeah. I guess feedback's like that GPS for your learning journey, keeping you from getting lost.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting feedback from other people. It's also about learning to give yourself feedback,
No.
reflecting on your progress, identifying areas for improvement, and constantly refining your approach.
Right, so it's like an ongoing conversation both with yourself and with others, all about getting better.
Yeah, I like that. It's a dialogue for sure.
Okay, so we've got these 3 pillars: learning from others, deliberate practice, and feedback, all working together like a well-oiled machine.
You got it.
But there's more, right? I mean, Scott Young doesn't just stop there. He also gives these 12 maxims, these guiding principles.
Oh, yeah, the maxims. And they're all super insightful, but I think for today, let's just focus on 4 of them, the ones that really resonated with me.
Sounds good. Hit me with number 1.
Okay, so the first one is all about embracing the beginner's mindset.
Oh, I like that. It's about approaching things with that fresh perspective, that curiosity, like you're a kid discovering something for the first time.
Exactly. It's about letting go of the ego, being open to new possibilities, accepting that you don't know everything.
Yeah, that can be tough though, can't it? I mean, especially when you're trying to learn something new, there's that temptation to want to be good at it right away.
Totally. We've all been there.
I remember this one time I was trying to learn Italian before a trip to Rome.
Oh, yeah. How'd that go?
Well, I thought I could just, breeze through some language apps, maybe watch a couple of movies and be fluent in a month.
The classic overconfidence trap.
Yeah, it was a disaster. I was getting so frustrated. I was making all these mistakes, and it just wasn't fun at all. It took me a while to realize that I needed to, let go of that need to be perfect, embrace the fact that I was a total beginner.
And how'd that change things?
It was like night and day.
Yeah.
Once I accepted that it was okay to make mistakes, to not understand everything right away, the learning process became so much more enjoyable. I started to see progress, and it really motivated me to keep going.
That's awesome. And it really speaks to the power of that beginner's mindset, doesn't it?
Totally. It's about being humble, being curious, and most importantly, being kind to yourself throughout the learning process. Okay, so beginner's mindset, check. What's the next maxim?
The next one is setting stretch goals.
Stretch goals. Okay, so like pushing yourself a little bit further than you think you can go.
Yeah, exactly. It's about setting goals that are challenging but still achievable. Like, let's say you want to run a marathon, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Instead of just aiming to finish, maybe you set a stretch goal of finishing under a certain time.
So it's that sweet spot between comfort and complete overwhelm.
Right, exactly. You want to be challenged, you want to be pushing yourself, but you don't want to set yourself up for failure either. It's about finding that balance.
Makes sense. And that kind of leads us to the next maxim, right? Iterating quickly.
You got it. This one's all about, not getting stuck in that perfectionism trap. It's about starting, learning from your mistakes, and making adjustments along the way.
Fail fast, learn fast, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it applies to so many things, not just learning a new skill. Think about starting a business, for example. You come up with an idea, you test it out, you see what works, what doesn't, and you iterate, you make changes based on that feedback.
I got to say, that's one I struggle with sometimes. I tend to overthink things, plan everything out to the nth degree, and then never actually get started.
I hear that.
But this whole idea of iterating quickly, it's a good reminder that it's okay to make mistakes, to not have everything figured out from the start.
Totally. And sometimes those mistakes, they end up being the best learning opportunities.
You totally are. Okay, so we've covered beginner's mindset, stretch goals, iterating quickly. What's the last maxim for today?
The last one is building learning routines.
Routines. So important, but sometimes so hard to stick to.
I know, right? But even small, consistent actions can make a big difference over time.
It's like compound interest, right?
Yeah.
Small, regular investments adding up over time.
Exactly. And with learning routines, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Even just dedicating 30 minutes a day to whatever you're trying to learn can lead to significant progress.
Yeah, I could see that. Like even if it's just reading a chapter of a book, practicing a language for a few minutes, or working on a specific skill.
Right. The key is consistency. Make it a habit, make it a part of your daily routine, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve.
I love it. So we've got our 3 pillars of mastery, and now these 4 super helpful maxims. But how does all this actually apply to, real world situations? Can you give us some examples?
Oh, totally. This framework, it's super versatile. It can be applied to pretty much anything you want to learn. So let's say you're trying to get better at giving presentations at work.
Yeah.
Well, you could start by observing your colleagues who are, really great presenters. Pay attention to their body language, their tone of voice, how they structure their presentations.
Yeah. Steal like an artist.
Exactly. And then you can start incorporating those techniques into your own presentations, practicing them deliberately, and getting feedback from people you trust.
Okay, I like it. And what about learning a new language? Could you use this framework for that too?
Absolutely. Let's say you're learning Spanish, for example. You could find a language partner, focus on practicing specific grammar structures or vocabulary words, maybe listen to Spanish music or podcasts, and then, of course, get feedback on your pronunciation and fluency.
So you're combining all 3 pillars: learning from others, deliberate practice, and feedback.
Exactly. And it works in a business setting too, right? You can analyze customer feedback, make iterative improvements to your product or service, and just keep striving for that continuous growth.
Wow, so this framework really is adaptable, huh?
It really is. And that's the beauty of it. It's not about some, secret formula or innate talent. It's about applying these principles consistently and strategically to anything you want to master.
It puts the power in your hands, really.
Exactly. You have the tools, you just got to use them.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave our listeners with one final question to ponder. What's one skill, big or small, that you've been wanting to improve? And how can you apply just one of these principles today to take that first step, to start moving towards mastery? Think about it. And that's our deep dive for today. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.